Okay, breast, what was I gonna say? Breast pump and, okay, not needed, okay. Some of the most common challenges with breastfeeding, as a matter of fact, one of the first things that you hear when you're breastfeeding is if you have big boobs, then you'll have a lot of milk and it's easier for you to breastfeed. And if you have small boobs, then you won't have enough milk and it's harder for you to breastfeed. As a matter of fact, you see, when mothers who have big breasts tell me that small breast women can feed better, and then small breast women say that, so you know, it's like everybody just feels as if breastfeeding is just not easy, full stop. However, it doesn't matter the breast size. What matters is how many milk ducts you have, because breast size is just based on fat and tissue, which has nothing to do with breast milk production any at all. A lot of the things that tend to hinder breastfeeding is, you know, latching or positioning. So what a good latch consists of is how the baby is positioned at the breast. Let's take a look at that a bit. So usually what you want to ensure is that the baby is not latched on the nipple. And that's where a lot of persons go wrong. We think that breastfeeding means that you latch on the nipple. However, just think about a bottle, for example. Where is the milk stored? The milk is stored in the rest of the bottle, right? It's not stored in the nipple. So how are you going to get the milk out of the nipple? So in the breast, the milk ducts are situated here, right behind the areola. So in order for the baby to effectively remove the milk, you want the mouth. So let's imagine that my hand is the mouth latched onto the areola. So that it presses down on the milk ducts and squeezes it in order for it to come through the nipple. So in breastfeeding, the nipple is just a passage. It has nothing to do with the breastfeeding any at all. The milk just comes through there. If at any point in time the baby is latched onto the nipple, there will also be forcing, you know, trying to tug and pull, and that's when the cracked and bleeding nipples occur, because the baby is trying to pull to get the milk out, but because no milk is coming out, frustration for both the mommy and the baby. Whereas if you have a latch on the areola, and as much of the areola as possible, not all of the areola, because some person's areola is bigger than some, as much of the areola as possible, and you squeeze down on the milk ducts, then the milk can come out and remove the milk. What consists of a good latch? You want to ensure that the baby's lips are flanged out like a duck. So the top lip and the bottom lip is flanged out. If it's tucked in, you're more likely to have issues in terms of discomfort and not proper removal of the milk as well. And that doesn't, you know, occur for proper jaw alignment. Also, if it's a case where there's some issue with the tongue or the lip, so a tongue tie or a lip tie, and what that refers to is the frenulum, which is that string that attaches the tongue or the lip to the gum and the rest of the mouth. If there's a restriction that makes it short and the tongue can't stretch out as it needs to cup the areola, or the lip can't stretch out to also cup the areola properly, then that's where you'll have things like cracked and bleeding nipples as well. So in order to get a good latch, so let's say this is the breast. Well, usually, so it depends on the situation, because most persons end up just having the baby there and expecting them to find it and latch on. In most cases, that's what results in a bad latch. So what you want to do is you actually want to hold the areola, and then when the baby opens wide, usually what you'll do is you can use the nipple to touch the top of their nose or their top lip, and they'll try to, you know, try to reach it, so they'll open wide, and then when they open wide, you hold it and you push it as far back as possible in the mouth. That's what constitutes a good latch. And then actually when they're latched, you want to ensure that basically they're as close as possible, so that the chin is touching the bottom of the breast and they're as close as possible. And also, I know you'll be tempted to press back so that the breast kind of doesn't stifle them. However, that would be you almost pulling the nipple out of the mouth. So you just want to gently press on the breast so that you remove the skin from coming down on their nose. That's something that you should be concerned about. And also, we don't want you to do the scissors hold, because that's where you'll be restricting the flow. So usually like a C hold or a U hold is what is recommended. So when you have a C-section, the incision is all the way down here. It's usually recommended that if you're having a C-section that you breastfeed the baby in a football hold. But technically, if you're holding the baby right, it really shouldn't matter, because how you're holding the baby in a breastfeeding position, say for example the cradle hold, which is the most popular, the baby is up here. Remember that the incision is all the way down here. So it really shouldn't affect it any at all. What I tend to find happen is that most new moms, when the baby is breastfeeding, you'll have the baby this way. You realize that the hand is here. You're trying to get the baby to reach the breast there. There is some sort of inhibition because the baby's head cannot turn at that point in time. Remember, you're always asking to support the head and the neck. The baby really has no muscle or control over their neck movements at that point in time. So this causes a hindrance. So what you do is you place this arm around you, and automatically the baby rotates to connect to you, belly to belly or tummy to mommy, whichever way you want to put it. And then the head and the neck is aligned for the baby to reach the breast. That is the position. So even though technically they don't recommend that position for C-section, it's fine once you're not in discomfort or pain. What is usually recommended for C-section is the football hold, because as you see, the baby is nowhere near the incision. So it's also a matter of preference. And in that case, what you do, it's technically a rugby hold, but football hold. You have the baby under your arm this way. Make sure that their head and their mouth is aligned and you're supporting the head and the neck, and they can reach the breast right here. So that's the football hold. There are other holds, and I'll just go through them quickly. So this is the cradle hold. The cross cradle hold is using the opposite hand to the breast that you're feeding the baby on, and this just gives you more movement with that other hand to do other stuff. Or for babies that have a problem getting a proper latch, you have more head and neck control using this hand. That's what the cross cradle hold is for. And you also get that in the football hold as well, giving them more head and neck control. And then you have the laid back position. That's where you're probably reclined and you have them on top of you. Then you have a side lying position where you're laying on the bed. This is for if you're tired and you just want some rest. They're on the same side that you're lying down on the bed on. And then the last and my favorite that a lot of people don't know about is the koala hold. And that's where you have the baby, you know, upright on your lap, supporting the head and the neck. And this is good for babies who tend to have spit up or reflux more often. So you just want to keep the milk situated down in the tummy for a longer period of time, and the baby can feed this way. For all these positions, you can use a pillow for support. So for example, if you have the baby here in the cradle hold, you can put a pillow under here to support. And that assists with a C-section to kind of protect the incision. For the football hold, you can also put the pillow to the side here. So what these things are to support the posture of the mom, because what you'll find is that mom is more likely to lean over while we want mom sitting back and more relaxed. Because if at any point in time mom is leaning over, she ends up with, you know, neck and back pain, and then breastfeeding becomes uncomfortable. So this one is most ideal for C-section. This one too, as long as you're not in the way of the incision, and the one for side lying is fine. Koala hold maybe less so, probably more advanced, you know, after the C-section incision gets to heal a bit. And if mom has a larger bust, one of the things that you can do is you can just get a receiver and kind of just roll it up in a cylindrical shape, and you can just put it under the breast, which allows you to forget about where the breast has to go or whatever, and kind of prop it up and aligns it better with the baby. That is one little trick that you can do if you have larger busts.